Hi there. Let's start with cryogenic vehicles, carrying miners. A mining spacecraft known as the Borealis glides across the Great Gap. For years remain for these miners until they get at their target. An asteroid veers suddenly and straight toward the ship. The Borealis crashes, launching the cars. Leonard, the artificial intelligence aboard the spacecraft, wakes the miners and starts getting them ready. Andy is one of the miners. He wakes up upon the asteroid striking. Leonard exhorts him to cool off and observe safety procedures. The Borealis is destroyed while the cars are thrown into a nearby planet. Andy's capsule completes building his suit, fastening his helmet, and replenishes his oxygen supply with robotic arms. Many of the vehicles are wrecked in the aftermath, either from the crash or the heat of re-entering the atmosphere of Earth. Andy struggles with re-entry even though his capsule just barely survives landing. Leonard swiftly spins Andy's vehicle around and guides it away as it is about to collide with a hill. Andy lives while the craft crashes on Earth. Andy is unconscious, then awakened with memories of his family. Looking about him, he discovers he is among a range of rugged mountains under black storm clouds. Andy calls the ship, but he gets no answer. Leonard tells him to leave the workshop when the ground starts to quake suddenly. Then Andy finds it difficult to open the craft. It is damaged. While being a low-ranking miner, he finds while looking through the survival gear that there is no signal gun. Desperate, Andy tries to flee after breaking the glass of the craft with a fire extinguisher. The unstable ground turns the vessel over as he works, and the shattered glass slashes across his armor. Leonard tells him the surroundings of the planet are hostile, and Andy seals the breach with a specific spray. Then Leonard tells Andy the pod is burning. Andy moves fast and looks for his son's toy, the one he loves, clutching it. Andy finds the Borealis rising into the atmosphere, now imprisoned on an unknown world. The ship is already on fire, though, and upon arrival it is totally wrecked. Andy is flying several meters from the shockwave, yet he somehow lives. Andy then inquires Leonard's whereabouts. They have not arrived at their intended location, Leonard tells him. They are in an unmapped star system. While attempting to reach someone on the radio, Andy decides to go toward a light he saw far away. Andy discovers another capsule and comes upon the Borealis remains along the way. When he tries to take the oxygen tank out of it, he panics upon spotting a dead person inside. Andy has the bravery to take off the tank only to see it broken and useless. Andy, annoyed, chooses to keep headed toward the light. The capsule behind Andy shows sinister symbols, blood and scratch marks, suggesting he is not alone as he leaves. Andy finally makes it to the light and discovers another survivor called Dwayne, glad to meet him. Dwayne, though, believes eating the bodies might be the only way he survives, as he thinks they might be the only ones left. He says the catastrophe happened since the corporation saved gasoline by cutting a shortcut across the asteroid belt. Working in the communications branch, Dwayne intends to transmit a distress signal to Earth asking for a rescue ship. Andy is informed the RTS will take another 2 years even with the quickest rescue ship. The signal will take 8 months to get to Earth. Dwayne then advises building base camp south to locate the other half of the Borealis. Dwayne motivates Andy by reminding him of his resiliency and therefore helps him to start to lose hope. Andy moves backwards to recover his balance, yet the pressure is too great for him and he unintentionally disconnects a wire. He turns to correct it, and a thing suddenly materializes, dragging Dwayne away. Andy is perplexed and does not know what really transpired. Even with the shock, he completes sending the distress signal. Andy then grabs Dwayne's gun and moves alone toward the other side of the ship. His oxygen supply is shockingly poor. A survivor called Naomi calls over his radio as he advances. She says Andy she sends her location and her legs are caught in her pod. Leonard tells Andy he will lose all of his oxygen attempting to get to her as their surroundings are quite unstable and visibility is bad. Rather, Leonard counsels them to travel a safer path to the other half of the Borealis in order to refuel their oxygen. Telling Andy she has enough oxygen for both of them, Naomi begs him not to forsake her. Andy agrees to help. Andy moves toward Naomi. The two start to chat and grow to know one another. Nightfall sets many hours later, and Andy starts to feel something odd. He asks Leonard to scan the area after believing he sees something moving in the darkness. but the AI is unable of doing the task. Leonard is an obsolete artificial intelligence model the corporation acquired to cut costs, Naomi notes. Andy is still walking an hour later, but he keeps seeing black things scurrying in the darkness. Then he tells Naomi about Dwayne and wonders aloud about his possible fate. Andy follows unusual footprints he notes shortly into a hole encircled by spider webs. Startled by the sight, Andy warns Naomi fast that the planet might be home to extraterrestrial spiders. Technically, though, Naomi and he are the aliens here, hence the spiders are just normal. Andy starts to move faster suddenly, seeing more spider webs all around and detecting threat in the surroundings. Commenting on how hard it is and implying that he might be escaping from his history, Naomi questions him why he accepted the position. This sets off his memories of his son and wife playing together. They left him. Andy informs Naomi. He hears a low growl out of nowhere and starts to frantically look about him. Then Leonard tells Andy 6 trackers are on their way to his place. Oddly enough, the trackers are really dead crew members. Andy bursts a sighting flare gun as the trackers get closer. The flare highlights the environment and shows massive spiders with tails resembling scorpions approaching him. Terrified, Andy bolts for his life but stumbles and falls into a ground crevice. From above, the spider hunts him, and his legs approach perilously near. Andy then drops several meters toward the brink of the precipice. Andy just makes it out of the fall, hanging to life for the storyline of the movie. Frustrated, the enormous spider above roars doesn't follow him down. Andy tells Naomi about the spiders and exposes the startling fact that the tracking devices belong to crew members consumed within the stomach of the creature. Andy then seals the tear with the remainder of his sealant spray as he discovers his suit is air deficient. Not suddenly, Dwayne's voice cuts across the radio. He says to Andy and Naomi he is battling the big spiders. Believing Dwayne has more oxygen, apprehensive Naomi encourages Andy to go assist him. The tumble disabled Andy's GPS, and Naomi uses the radio to guide him near Dwayne. Andy finds Dwayne under attack when he finally picks up his signal and reaches him. Dwayne yells he has a plan, but before he can act, a spider leaps on him. Andy covers behind a pod and listens helplessly while the spider consumes Dwayne. Another spider starts prowling about searching for Andy, but Naomi diverts it by turning on the pod's lights. Andy uses the chance to hide within another pod and discovers a dead body there. Andy then asks Naomi to cut off the pod's lights, but she has another thought. Turning on all the pod's lights at once, she attracts the spiders toward them and provides Andy with an escape path. A spider follows him till he trips into a misty section. Naomi informs Andy she is still stuck even though Andy advises her to leave her pod right once. Naomi starts to lose it, and Andy starts singing a comforting tune he used to sing to his son. Naomi then verifies that Dwayne is dead and that they are the sole 2 survivors still on Earth. Andy wonders why the spiders have stopped hunting him as he negotiates the fog and discovers a captivating swarm of purple glowing fireflies, therefore producing a fantastic illusion. Suddenly, though, the fireflies become an angry crimson and start attacking him, trying to tear off his helmet. Andy hardly manages to flee the swarm. Naomi says the spiders stopped hunting him as they might be terrified of the fireflies. A huge creature's maw comes out from the ground, devouring Andy whole before he can absorb this theory. Memories of his family pass before Andy's eyes as he settles into the mouth of the beast. She then vanishes totally inside. Andy calls Leonard for assistance inside the monster since he finds it's inside to be dirty. Leonard says he is suffering a heart attack. Leonard rapidly turns on the defibrillator incorporated into Andy's suit, and the beast spits Andy out in response to the shock. Then Andy climbs to his feet as the beast pursues him. Then he descends into a cave-like form once more, full of fireflies. He runs to the other side of the cave after the attacking brilliant creatures attack him fiercely. The fireflies stop following him and abandon him alone once outside. Andy moves toward Naomi instead of the remaining Borealis, his suit low in oxygen. She refills him fast when he reaches her barely in time before his oxygen runs out. Andy attempts, but lacks the strength necessary to release Naomi's caught leg. He lifts her leg using her safety gear, therefore releasing her at last with a lever. Naomi assures me her leg is not broken. Andy immobilizes her leg with a piece of metal wrapped around it like a splint as they leave the capsule, therefore improving her walking. She thanks Andy for saving her instead of going to safety after gathering goods from Naomi's capsule. Soon they are encircled by a swarm of spiders, which drives them to flee. To help Naomi withstand the agony in her leg, her advanced artificial intelligence, AMI, gives her morphine. They fall after fleeing for some time, and a spider hangs above ready for strike. The spiders chase the signals Naomi sends at them instead of their usual behavior. Seizing this diversion, the pair boards the last section of the ship. Naomi battles to shut the doors while the control system breaks down. She closes the doors after several tries exactly as one of the spiders is caught and chopped in half. Then the animals start hammering on the door, pushing Naomi and Andy back even more into the ship. The emergency lights flash to signal the backup generator is running. Knowing the layout of the ship, Naomi can negotiate it effortlessly. Andy, who has only been on board twice and spent much of his time in a deep sleep, is disoriented. They finally come onto a deck with enough provisions to last until aid shows up and a livable atmosphere. They find a trail of blood when attempting to open the deck and realize a spider has inside the Borealis. Covering an egg with cobwebs and a corpse inside, they conceal and observe as the spider lays it. Andy feels disgusted and battles the one to throw up. The spider seems not to notice their presence and leaves, but just as they start to walk, another spider strikes from behind. Believing they are safe, Andy locks them in a room. But Naomi quickly notes they have trapped themselves in an air chamber. Andy corrects his error and bangs on the door using a metal bar, but to little effect. Desperate, both of them remove their helmets and start chatting. Andy shows Naomi a videotaped greeting from his kid and wife. He tells her that he has been living with remorse over surviving ever since. They died in a vehicle accident on their way home from his birthday. He believes he ought to have been the dead one. Naomi says to him rescue her shows that his life still has purpose. She tells him she no longer believes people, but she has hope once more because of his behavior. Then Naomi hugs him and finds a cluster of fireflies fastened to his clothing. Then a tenacious spider bursts through the lock. Quickly thinking, Naomi throws the firefly at the beast, who instantly withdraws. The pair grabs the chance to flee, but almost land in a shipping container. When the spider rushes at them, everyone falls inside the container. Andy tosses Naomi's sealant spray at the spider as it hunts them once more. Her temporary stunning is caused by the spider biting the can exploding. Andy and Naomi thus had time to flee. Andy advises they destroy the spider once and for good using a mining drill. Then Naomi starts to divert Andy, sprinting and screaming at him to discover how to destroy the spider. Andy has the great concept of crushing the spider under a pod situated in a high position. While he looks for a working pod, he orders Naomi to entice the spider toward him. 2 levels above their present position, Leonard explains Andy, is the lone operational pod. Andy scales into the pod while the spider attacks Naomi non-stop. Knowing the spider is sensitive to lights, Andy shuts down all of them to assist Naomi. Naomi can so hide from the spider's view. Then Naomi comes onto some emergency lights and ties them off to draw in the spider. Andy is working to manually expel the pod in meantime. Leonard cautions him it will take at least 15 minutes to have Naomi's safety turned on again and informs him he turned off the electricity. Andy then chooses to run the pod personally, therefore negating the system. Now shining like a lighthouse, Naomi effectively attracts the beast toward Andy's position. Andy mechanically charges his suit by strapping it to the pod. Leonard informs Andy that the procedure will short-circuit his artificial intelligence system, therefore rendering Leonard obsolete. Leonard also says Andy personally might not withstand the effect. Leonard shows his readiness to give Andy and himself up despite the dangers. Andy throws the pod straight at the spider as the monster moves right under it, remembering the vehicle accident that claimed his family. Though Andy is left unconscious, the pod ends up crushing the spider. Then Naomi bursts to him, sobbing since she thinks he is dead. Moments after, Andy wakes up and Naomi gives him a firm hug. Quietly observing the sun rise over the earth, the two share they recall the odd beauty of the planet despite the terrible circumstances and lethal species. Leonard surprisingly comes back, and says he has been upgraded. Leonard tunes them a lovely song while Andy smiles in relief. Holding hands, Andy and Naomi are looking forward to the future. Originally an instant frozen slumber trip, it has evolved into a survival struggle. Assume the distress message has reached Earth, they now have almost 2 years to wait for a rescue ship. Should that occur, though, the issue still stands. For just 2 individuals, would a firm renowned for cost-cutting be ready to send assistance to an unidentified planet? That rests with you to decide. Regarding Andy and Naomi, I believe they will find means to make the wait worthwhile, maybe even romantic. Thanks for being with us.